Malabari
Sacharoff.
Sacharoff, okay. So Shanta came to the United States from India in 1964. So she brings all the flavors from her native India, but we may have gone to a lot of Indian restaurants and eaten a lot of unhealthy, oily food that may not be very good for you. Well, she'll change that. She has a lot of experience. She's actually taught at UCSF, right?
UCSF and SF State.
In San Francisco State, that's right. And she's the co-owner of other avenues. You may have seen her out there handing out delicious samples of chai. So without further ado, Shanta.
Hey, thank you for coming. I know it's a busy day, and I am always thrilled to participate in the World Vegetarian Day, even though it's a lot of work. I was cooking until 11 because I don't just like teeny bitty sample. I like to have really good bite of what I'm going to teach you for you to enjoy or take it home and just like see what it is to blend the flavors. So anyway, it's really nice to see all of you here. I always start saying that I think that the vegetarian movement has come a long way, in that first I remember joining the Vegetarian Society many years ago, and everybody's attention was in health. We all wanted to not eat meat to be healthy, and that was good enough, but it was kind of more like a self-centered approach. Then it evolved in, particularly after John Robbins' book came out, into respecting for the animal that they are also us and we are them too. So it's not just for our health, but it's for their rights and respect and so on. Then it became very political in many parts of the world, that vegetarianism is not just for the health of it, it's not just for the animal rights, but it's also to save the planet. Like my mentor, Francis Moore Lappe said that if everybody eats beans, we will have more beans. So it is like if we all cut down on meat, if not become vegetarian altogether, then it is really going to solve world hunger. I have also noticed lately from the emergence or the transformation or evolving attitudes of vegetarianism. On one hand, a lot of my friends who were vegetarian in the 60s are no longer vegetarian because either they were attached to meat and went back, or they were told by their doctor, of course, wrongly, that they needed protein from meat, or they just didn't know how to cook with vegetables. At the same time, there's an emerging new generation of people that I work with, people in their early 20s, mid-20s, and they're totally vegan, okay? And they really inspire and influence me so that I have reduced a lot of dairy in my diet. I'm not completely vegan as yet, but I do enjoy cooking challenges, one of them being gluten-free, other being a lot of my students are vegan, so a lot of time I just do vegan by request. So today, what I'm going to demonstrate you is a vegan curry from Malabari coast of India. Somebody asked me, what's Malabari root? He thought there was some sort of a root. Okay, Malabar is a southern coast of India. So if this is India, okay, picture like this, it's kind of like this. This would be Sri Lanka here, Pakistan here. So this is like your Malabari coast, okay, kind of opposite side of Madras. The cuisine there has a lot of spiciness to it. Believe it or not, that the two spices, they originated from India a long, long time ago. One of them was black pepper. And now the chilies, the cayenne has taken over Indian spices, and in the north we don't even use black pepper. But in South India, it is still used. So it's, the food tends to be really spicy there. And secondly, they use a lot of coconut. So the curry we are making today is going to be from beets and other roots, and it's going to have a sauce with coconut milk that has been flavored with tamarind. That's the other thing that I find really fascinating about South Indian food. I'm from North India. Not only it's easy to be vegan in South India because the South Indian culture, the Dravidian culture, really did not have cows. It's the Aryan who came from the Middle Asia at the time, which is somewhere where Afghanistan and Russia kind of meets. Those Aryans brought cows and horses. The Dravidian people in the south, during the time of Mohenjo-daro, they had a lot of skilled culture with culinary science that was evolved without any kind of milk, and they were also vegetarian by and large. Of course, the coastal people ate fish and whatever was locally found, but not only a lot of the South Indian food can be vegan, but it's the only portion of India, especially Kerala, Malabar coast, they use a lot of leafy greens. They have I have a book on Indian cuisine, history of Indian cuisine. They used to have something like 300 kinds of leafy greens that people used to get their proteins from. So I can just imagine people bringing like a whole garbage, bag full of leaves home. Here, honey, make me a meal. But it just sounds really exciting that they really did not have to depend on dairy. So today's curry, the Malabari curry, the reason I brought it today was kind of inspired by a student. She said, for one, she said, I just came back from India, and not only in an Indian restaurant here, everything kind of tastes the same, but also looks the same. It's always yellow or brown. So I said, okay, I'm going to make a pink curry. So today we are going to have pink curry. Thanks to the beet, even the turmeric gets kind of pinked up, so you won't even see the turmeric, okay? So one more thing before we start cooking is if you have one of these, this is my store, Other Avenue. It's a food cooperative. And one thing I find actually similar, we need to share our food and justice, sharing, and not just dominating. So I find it interesting that I ended up being vegetarian and a co-op owner. We are on 44th and Judah, so if you happen to be near there, looking at the ocean, you want to smell and see the Pacific Ocean, come and visit me, okay? And I'm not always there, I have kind of odd hours, but I'm always there Sunday, late afternoon, and you get a 10% discount to come there. One good thing also is when you find a list of spices, almost all our spices are either wildcrafted or organic. Majority of them are organic, and we buy them in bulk, so they're always fresh because there's always a turnover. Not only that, if you're a connoisseur of spices and if you have used the spices a lot of time, you will know that it smells fresh, whereas when you go to buy spices in Safeway or Lucky, they're packed in a package and you really don't know if they're fresh or not. So even if you don't come to my store, go to a health food store that has spices in bulk instead of packaged, okay? Or even in a bag. That's so much better because usually the turnover is faster. Like you go to a Latin store and they would be in a bag.
And the spices have not been irradiated.
They are not. In fact, if it's organic, as yet, it cannot be. Unless the government changes, it cannot be irradiated. Okay, so wildcrafted, I'm not so certain, but usually the wildcrafted is crafted here, and we hope that it is also not irradiated. All right, so that's a little plug about my store. I have been there for many years. We are going to enjoy our 40th anniversary next year, so we are going to have a lot of celebration, and it's a vegetarian store. In fact, there's 2 co-ops that are retail health food co-op in San Francisco, and they're both vegetarian, one being Rainbow and us being the second. Okay. So going back to the food, okay, a little bit about spices. Okay, so you probably know that most Indian people don't use curry powder, although right now there are a lot of housewives who work as well as take majority of the labor in the kitchen. So they buy this mixes and that mixes, and there's a lot of television show on cooking, and those people are really famous, and they have some concoction that they mix it up to sell, package and sell it. So a lot of the homemakers turn into those packaged spices, but there's no such a thing as curry powder. Although you'll find Madrasi curry powder in Indian store, but most Indian homemakers make their own mixes, okay? I wouldn't say all, but most of them. So depending on what you're making, Okay, you use the different spices. For instance, today, what I'm going to show you is the beet curry, and the beets also I am using red beets, but you can use yellow beets. I'm using sweet potato in case somebody who is here who is nightshade, allergy. So I just want to show you the sweet potato works as well as the red potatoes, or Yukon Gold. I prefer those to russet for this recipe because the beets are really sturdy and so are the carrots, and those soft potatoes will make a little gravy, right? So those are the 3 roots we are using: carrots, yams, and beets. In the curry that I have made for a generous sample for all of you, there's red potato, not yam, just to let you know. I also thought that I will throw in a couple of these guys for the color, but unlike the roots which you have to boil previously, these are the boiled beets, these are the boiled yams, and these are the boiled carrots. They're parboiled because what I want to do is I want to stir fry them with some spices, and once they get stir fried, then I'm going to put the tamarind sauce and the coconut milk, and that will make a curry. So if they're parboiled, they'll still keep some shape and texture, whereas if they were more boiled, then they will get kind of mushy. Okay? These I'm not going to boil. They're just rinsed. I'm going to cut them up. So they will just give a nice color, just to kind of make a little variation. I want to show you that don't be shy if you want to make something else in this root curry. This won't be in the recipe, in the written recipe that I just gave you out. Just kind of bite-sized pieces. So this will go in our stir fry.
Where do you get tamarind?
Tamarind, okay, that's a really good question because there's 2 ways you can buy tamarind. One that you're more familiar with in Indian shops, that would be like it comes in a kilo and looks like a brick, right? And you cut off a piece and you soak it. Those tamarinds supposedly don't have any seeds in them or the skin. One I like is with the seeds and skin because I think the sauce is so different, okay? And these you can buy in some Chinese store. I'm going to pass it around. Or you can buy it in some Arab stores, okay? So they must be using it. I find it on 22nd and Irving.
And Latin stores too, no?
Exactly. They sell them in bulk because they make a drink out of that. You're right. So the way to use it, and this is really important that you kind of pay attention, there's a crinkly skin that comes out right away, okay? And what you have in your hand is this guy, okay? So you take the strings out, the shells out. This is the edible portion, but not all. It's got 1, 2, 3 seeds. So instead of fishing out each seed, what I do is after I have this piece, I peel all of them. So let's say I have 8 or 16, depending on the how much I need. I'm going to soak it in hot water. Then I'll come back and just play with it using the finger. If you think that that's not, you don't like to play with your food, you can use the gloves, or you can have a sieve, so what remains under the bowl is the portion that you're going to be using. Okay, and I'm going to pass this too. Laura, can you pass this as well? Thank you. Okay, and I need a napkin.
The right hand.
Ooh, this looks pretty. Thanks a lot. So it gets kind of your hand sticky. So we are going to stir fry this with the spices in this dish, and you can come and take a look if you like. Are the ingredients in this dish are all the spices. And I use olive oil for this particular dish for no good reason, except I like olive oil, but you can use peanut oil. Or coconut oil, yes, indeed. That's what they use. Just a little bit of oil, not too much. Then I'm going to put some onion in there and garlic. I'm going to make a very small batch, but I have enough for all of you for a really good portion, so enjoy. I'm not going to fuss making any smaller, so you have to imagine it's small. So I would cook it, I would cut it a little bit smaller than that. Garlic. It's hard to cook with this thing because it gets too hot. Exactly. Yeah, I don't like electric stove. I have a gas range. Okay, so imagine this being minced, even though it's not. And then what I did is I have a mixture of chili and ginger that I have minced it because I wanted it to be small. Chili and ginger, not chili. Sorry, chili and ginger. So I had chopped up chili, green chili, jalapeno, and ginger. So I'm going to stir fry it real quick until it gets nice and limp, and you start to smell the fragrance. That's when I'm going to add some seeds here. These are cumin seeds, and this is cilantro that will go last. Okay, and I have a little coconut milk, and I use the Thai brand, this one, because it's organic. And the sauce is going around, the tamarind sauce. When it comes back, we are going to mix it up. Okay, thank you. Yeah, you want to see the consistency, basically. That's where I was passing. Okay, now goes the cooked roots in there. But before I put the cooked roots, I'm going to add the veggies. These are the sunburst squash. So you see, a lot of the spices that we use, they go in stages. It's like, you know how the orchestra has a lot of instruments and they go in stages. It's kind of like that. So curry powder, you just put everything in there. But instead, we usually roast the whole spices like onion and garlic and seeds, and then you put the powdered spices later after you have put the vegetables. Then the carrots. The proportion in here aren't correct because I just want to show you to get the idea, okay? Because what I want in here, ideally, is more beets. But you can do it any old way you want. Because the way it's served, it's very, very pink because the main ingredient in there is the beets.
Well, very few people know that the beet is the only thing on earth that goes down 20 feet.
Is that so? I did not know that.
It goes down 20 feet. It gets about 100 times more nutrition than any other vegetable on earth.
Right. I actually started to cook more with beet because one of my very good friend who's editing my new book, she can't have tomatoes. So I make things with beet sauce. You can even make lasagna with a beet sauce, instead of tomato sauce.
With the beets, you can eat them raw. I eat them raw. No, but you said they go.
Next goes the beets because they have been boiled. So this is what it looks like. This is a variation. What you are going to have is mostly beets. This is going to take 15-20 minutes of cooking time before it's ready to be served because you want the flavors to set there. You want a little bit more spices like salt and chili, cayenne pepper. And last but not the least is I'm going to add the tamarind sauce and the coconut milk.
So only other thing you added was cumin seeds,
Right.
no other spices.
chili and ginger, right, and a little cayenne, and a little salt. And it also, like, when I was tasting after the curry was done, and you'll see it's really like very, very pink because all the pinkness from the beet had saturated in the pot. To me, it did not taste sour enough, so I just put some more lemon juice.
Oh, right.
And I thought it would be too sour. I could put a little bit of honey, but I didn't need it. So it just depends. We like to, in India, we like to balance the flavors, mostly the sour, the sweet, and the bitter. The spiciness is totally optional. If you can balance the bitter, sour, and sweet, and sweetness is a lot of times it's just natural. The vegetables are really sweet. Because we eat so many desserts, we really have ruined our taste buds. Though we don't really taste the sweetness of the vegetables or even fruits. Okay, but vegetables are very, very sweet. So in order for the vegetables to have a little bit tanginess, we put a lot of lime juice or lemon juice, and then something bitter, and that's from the spices, such as cumin, such as turmeric. Turmeric is bitter.
Do you recommend a prepared tamarind sauce?
Prepared tamarind sauce is okay. I often find it discolors my food, so especially if I'm making sambar, which is a dal that has a lot of vegetable, it makes my sambar really dark, and I don't like it dark. But if I'm in a hurry, I would use prepared tamarind paste. Look at the ingredients. Sometimes it does have preservatives, but lately I have found some that do not have preservatives. Yeah, they do basically what I did, but they take the labor away from you. And then they have to, because this is perishable. After you do the sauce, like the one I showed you, it keeps in the refrigerator for up to a week. But after that, it starts to go bad. So you have to use it up within a week. Okay.
Excuse me, so did you have to use any honey in the finished product?
I did not put any honey. I was saying that if the curry doesn't, have enough tanginess, you can put lemon just to make it more tangy. If you put too much lemon juice, put a little bit of honey. So you have to kind of fall with, how you like it.
I was asking because I'm vegan and I want to eat it.
You can put agave.
Different, sweeter.
Right,
Can you put
maple.
more tamarind? Because tamarind is very sweet, or no? Well, maybe it's sour too.
Right. It is actually sour. In fact, I didn't think it was sour enough, but yeah, usually sweet and sour. So I also wrote down in the recipe that you put some leaves in there, so beet leaves. But when I bought the beets, it wasn't in a bunch, so I'm just adding some spinach. A whole bunch of spinach.
Would tomato go in this recipe or no?
No tomato in here. You could invent one, but this particular recipe I handed out to you. The reason I wouldn't use tomato in this recipe, even though I said that, it's a free country, there's certain things that don't kind of clash in taste-wise, and tomatoes and tamarind, to me, do not go together.
Yeah.
In the beets, do you have cook it with the skins on, or do you have to take the skins off?
That's a really good question. If you scrub it really well, you don't have to take the skin off of the beets. But because I was making so much, I wanted to make sure that it's clean for you guys. So I took the peeler and I peeled all the beets. Okay. The red potatoes I use in the samples that you're going to get, I did not peel them fully. I just took out those spots that looked like, had dents. So there's still a little skin on.
You've been eating this way all your life?
Yeah.
You've been eating this way all your life?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, you've got a real...
I don't always make Indian food, but I have been vegetarian all my life.
Okay, you've got a rich, nice, full line, hairline. Black hair, all nice, and it's all thick in the front.
We want to talk about that.
No, that's the secret to that.
Okay.
L'Oreal.
Okay, I also wanted to tell you that the class schedule is in the back of the handout. There is an email address that you can inquire when I will have the next series. I do 4-week series, but you don't have to take all 4 classes. I also don't teach that regularly because I'm writing and also I work at my store. So I do infrequently, but I do 4-week series maybe 3 times a year. So next time I will have 4-week series, hopefully in October. All right. Well, I hope you're all hungry. I wish I could have showed you how to make. So it's really simple, right? I mean, it just took a few minutes, but it's the prep that takes a longer time. That is always true for Indian food. If you wanted to make things from scratch, such as a tamarind sauce, it took me 15 minutes to make the sauce. Not a big deal, but still it's a 15 minutes after 9 o'clock. What else? It took me some time to boil the vegetables, because you have to put the vegetable in the pot one by one. You first put the beets, because the beets will take the longest. Then you put the carrots, because that will be next longest, and then you put the potatoes. So it just depends how long time you have. But once you have those boiled, all you have to do next day is assemble it.
Can you steam them instead of boiling them?
Oh, you can steam them, you can bake them, sure, absolutely. Boiling is just faster. And what's good about roots, including beets and potatoes, that boiling really does not take that much nutrients away from them. Although they do have some nutrients around the skin. Overcooking, just like the hard squashes, does not destroy much because they're so packed with nutrients.
Are you staying for dinner here to help cook?
What's that?
Are you staying here for dinner to help cook?
Oh, they have a dinner tonight. I did not know that. No, that's not going to be me.
There are. This is fantastic food.
What I like to suggest is at other avenues, if you can have some of, that looks beautiful. If you can have some of your homemade snacks for sale.
We don't have a cooking license, so that's a problem. So we do make some things at other avenues, but they're all raw things. And some of them actually, I taught how to make salsa, for instance, and we just cannot cook. So we have some good things, but they're not cooked.
Wait, just so I'm clear about how you boiled it. Was it that you started with the beets and then added the carrots and then the potatoes, or did you boil the beets separately?
No, I put everything in the same pot, but I started with beets. I had a big pot, so I put the beets first, waited for 20 minutes, then goes the carrots, waited for 10 minutes or whatever, I kind of go by how they feel, and then the potatoes.
I got it. Thank you.
If you had beet leaves, would you put them in last like you did?
Just like, yes, yeah, and they wilt so fast. They don't take that long
How
to.
much cilantro? How much cilantro? Just a little bit.
As much as little as you like. There's no limit to how much cilantro can go in your food, or you totally avoid it if you don't like it, because there are cilantro lovers and there are cilantro haters, right? You can also put, instead of cilantro, you can put parsley if you don't like cilantro. Any other question? Nope. Okay. Well, we can start. So the lady asked me a question in case you didn't also know. Did I use the hot pepper? I use jalapeno. When I stir fry the onions and garlic, I put the jalapeno in there. But later I put some cayenne.
Cayenne.
Later, after I put the milk, coconut.
No curry. Keep the curry out. No curry.
Hang on. Eso es un doble.
No curry. There's no such a name as curry.
What do you think of those really hot peppers, like Thai peppers?
I don't really like hot food to draw the taste of other foods. So I like it hot just to give it an accent, but I don't like so hot that you can't taste the food. Yeah. I go from mild to maybe moderate, but not hot.
I like my food bland.
Yeah, I'm also, Vata, so Vata people like spicy food, but it's not good for us.
This is delicious.
Is it good? Thank you. Yeah, it's gotten probably cold by now, but
I like the chutney.
the chutney, by the way, is all raw. It's from cashews that have been soaked in warm water, and then just crush it.
And what are these red beans?
And everything's organic, and everything's bought from my store.
I know you said there's no such thing as curry, but
Right.
is this a common variation of it, or is it always different?
I would say that it's fairly common that you use 4 or 5 spices all the time, like turmeric, cumin, onion and garlic is very popular. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.